curious for myself about the distinction between ego and soul for a couple of different angles. One is that I feel so much as if I live a daily life, and it's in the course of normal activities, which are about traversing the material world, where I feel real connected with spirit. And yet I'm interested to make sure my ego's not getting in the way when I work with other people. So that distinction is personal, but I'd love to hear more just about your view of the ego and soul in a human incarnation.
Well, I think that for you personally, when you're working with other people, I think that you're probably over-eager in trying to validate them, and that creates to where your empathy turns then into the compassion, and then it's a little bit that you're trying to rescue them so they can feel better. Okay.
Oh yeah, I love everyone to feel very happy.
Well, that's your ego demand. Okay, your ego is demanding that, and I'm going to say something now, and don't take it too hard. There's no dignity in that. What that is, it comes across as sympathy, and I want you to look up sympathy in the dictionary and see where it lies, because I can't say it over the air. But look it up. So what you want to do is the empathy, and it's honoring their journey and allowing them where you're supportive, but you're not rescuing them. So when you'll know your ego is in there when you're trying to get their approval for helping them. It's very subtle. You get much better at not doing that. You are getting much better at not doing that. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. That's exactly, that'll definitely help. That'll turn, if you do therapy, that'll turn you from a good therapist into a great one.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And what else did you...
Thank you so much for that personally. And speak more about your view of the ego. Because
which one?
Those things you said at the beginning about the ego is part of our journey here, and it's all part of the soul's work. We have a lot of controversy.
We come in naturally wired with the to do things for the higher good. Okay, we're naturally wired with that because that's our spiritual heritage. So in the ego of the soul is encouragement and it's gratitude and observing. Now you have to remember there's free will choice, and we all need personalities in order to be able to survive on the earth and be able to deal with people and be able to enjoy life. But what happens with the ego, if it's any way hurt at all, it turns into the envy, and it turns into the gratification, and it turns into the obsession. So that doesn't serve anything. That just brings more energy, and that just doesn't make us feel good about ourselves. It's a temporary fix. So they're the two differences. Like I said before, when you're banking on somebody or you're talking to somebody or doing something or somebody asks you or whatever it is, if it's an opinion and you say, is this for the higher good? Because when you think of the higher good, it's going to start changing how your brain thinks. It won't always be stuck in the muck and mire of everybody else's stuff or even your own muck and mire, okay? So it's about learning what the egos mean, and it's about even if you went around saying it in your brain, it's going to change the energy in your being. It's going to raise the vibrations. If your vibrations are raised, you're going to be able to raise other people's. And it's reminding people, asking them, well, where did you get this belief system? You're not about, I don't change people's belief systems, but I definitely believe in challenging them. You know. So, well, because I don't want to take anything away from them that they need for their journey, but I most certainly, there's nothing to stop me from giving my knowledge or educating them. When I worked with addicts, and I would tell them, I'm not going to have you give up the drugs. Be the best drug user you want to be. But you're going to walk out of my office the most educated one. And you can't blame anybody else. You know.
That's an interesting thing to do. Most therapists don't have the guts to do that, but that's the most powerful thing you can do, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the most powerful. You know why? You're acknowledging who they are. You're giving them dignity. Their choice of how they live is their choice. It's not my job to judge them. My job is educate you, understand you, give you some empathy, send you on the way, raise your consciousness. That's my job. And, of course, it kept coming back. Because I don't do sympathy.
Good.
You know, so
Great.
okay, look it up in the dictionary because you're going to find it really funny. Sympathy is really, people don't want sympathy. They really don't.
It's not on a soul level, sympathy. Empathy really
right.
is. Yeah.
Empathy is on a soul level, exactly. And the other thing is, if you know nothing about their problem, what I tell them, when they tell me, well, what do you know about it? I say, nothing. Teach me. And they do. I've never been a drug addict, and that was one of the things that they would say, well, you don't know anything about it. And I would just say, well, do you know pain? Yep, so do I. So there wasn't anywhere when I was young to run anywhere to get away from it. Not like where you're living in inner city. You know what I mean? There's a difference in terms of how we learn to cope with intense emotions. I had nothing to self-medicate. There wasn't even food to self-medicate on. So you just deal with it. The